नमो
भगवते
वासुदेवाय।
वासुदेवाय।
ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय।
ॐ
ॐ
नमो
नमो
भगवते
भगवते
वासुदेवाय।
वासुदेवाय।
ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय।
ॐ
ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय।
वासुदेवाय।
नारायणं नमस्कृत्य
नारायणं
नारायणं
नमस्कृत्य
नमस्कृत्य
नरं चैव नरोत्तमं
नरश्चैवानरोत्तमं
देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं
देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं
ततो जयम् उदीरयेत्।
ततो
ततो जयमुदीरयेत्।
शृण्वतां स्वकतः कृष्ण
श्रीवतां
शृण्वतां स्वकथा कृष्णा
श्रवणकीर्तना
पुण्यश्रवणकीर्तना
द्यन्तस्तो ह्यभद्राणि
हृदयन्तस्थो ह्यभद्राणि
धुनोति सुहृत्सताम्
शृणोति सुहृत्सताम्
नष्टप्रायेष्वभद्रेषु
नष्टप्रायेष्वभद्रेषु
नित्यं भागवत सेवया
नित्यं भागवत सेवया
भक्त भगवती भगवती उत्तम श्लोके
भगवती उत्तमश्लोके
भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिके
भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी।
कृष्णाय वासुदेवाय
कृष्णाय वासुदेवाय
देवकीनन्दनाय च
देवकीनन्दनाय च
नन्दगोपकुमाराय
नन्दगोपाय
गोविन्दाय नमो नमः।
गोविन्दाय
गोविन्दाय नमो
नमः।
Jai. So we are studying 15th chapter. The chapter is titled The Pandavas Retired Timeline. So we covered up to 17 verses, the first two sections. So if you remember the context, Minister Maharaj was seeing all the bad symptoms of Kali just entering. And at the time he was thinking what was the reason for all of this. And Arjuna enters the home after being away from the home for almost 6 months. So once Arjuna enters, he was he pays his obeisances, and he was almost very morose, almost crying. And then he is unable to speak of himself. Yudhishthira Maharaj poses a lot of questions to him. And then he informs about the departure of Dhritarashtra and his wife, and Vidura's instructions, all of that. And then finally, he expresses his strong feelings of separation from Krishna. And then he also remembers all the great favors that Lord has done to them. So that was what is discussed. So these are covered already. Arjuna recalls the experiences of Lord with him and the favors done by Lord to them, like winning Draupadi, defeating Indra, and how Indraprastha was built by Mahadavanava, and how Bhima was able to defeat Jarasandha by the guidance of Lord, and how he was able to eliminate all the people in the Kurukshetra war, those who actually offended Draupadi. So these are all favors by Lord. And how he was saved. They were all, Pāṇḍavas were saved in the when they were staying in the forest They were saved from the anger of Durvasa Muni. How even surprised and surpassed Lord Shiva, and how the demon Nivata Kavacha was killed when he stole the cows of Virat during the last year of their Vanvas stay. Yeah, and then finally, last 3 verses were how Lord made them the winners in Kurukshetra war, even though it is practically not possible because of the wisdom and guidance of Lord. They were able to win Kurukshetra war against all odds. Now, after remembering all the favors of the Lord, he will remember the moments that he spent closely with the Lord. Okay, so we'll read those verses. Nirmani udara ruchira smita sobhitani. Nirmani udara ruchira smita sobhitani. Nobody wants
Vidhara.
Prabhuji, you are not sharing the screen.
Share the screen, Prabhuji.
second also. Sorry. Can you see the screen?
Yes,
Yes, Prabhuji.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Nirmanyudara ruchira smita sobhitani.
Nirmani
Udara ruchira smita sobhitani.
He Partha, he Arjuna, he Arjuna Sakhe Kurunandaneti.
He
Partha, he Arjuna Sakhe Kurunandaneti.
Sanjalpitani Naradeva Hridisprishani.
Sanjalpitani Naradeva Hridisprashani.
Smartur Luthanti Hridayam Mama Madhavasya.
Smarturlutani Hridayam Madhavasya.
Please read the translation.
O King, his jokings and frank talks were pleasing and beautifully decorated with smiles. His addresses unto me as O son of Pritha, O friend, O son of the Kuru dynasty, and all such heartiness are now remembered by me, and thus I am overwhelmed.
So Krishna was Arjuna Sakha. He's acted as a friend to Arjuna. So he used to address him, hey, O Partha, son of Pritha, O friend, O son of Kuru dynasty, like that he used to address him. So he was remembering how the Supreme Lord would very friendly talk to him. And he was overwhelmed with those feelings of, because now Krishna is no more available for direct access. So he was overwhelmed with those feelings of separation. Sayya sanatana vikattana bhojanadesva. Aikyadvayasya ritavan iti vipralabdha. Sakyu sakheva pitravat tanakasya sarvam. Mahan mahitaya kumater aghamme. Yeah, who's good?
Generally, both of us used to live together and sleep, sit, and loiter together. And at the time of advertising oneself for acts of chivalry, sometimes if there were any irregularity, I used to reproach him by saying, "My friend, you are very truthful." Even in those hours when his value was minimized, he, being the Supreme Soul, used to tolerate all those utterings of mine, excusing me exactly as a true friend excuses his true friend or a father excuses his son.
So, Saya Sanatana, they were sleeping together on one bed sometimes, Arjuna and Krishna. They were sitting together on one seat, walking together hand in hand. So these are all things that Krishna, Arjuna has experienced with Krishna. And sometimes they used to really act like a friend. Like sometimes he used to joke and minimize the position of Krishna also, because friends means that is how, sometimes you sarcastically make a joke out of your friend just for the fun's sake, right? So all such things were existing. For example, even Krishna, Arjuna at least accepted Krishna sometimes as, sometimes he accepted him as Guru also during the world, Kurukshetra war. But if you consider his, his childhood friends like Sudama and others, they would not even consider Krishna as, never they consider Krishna as anything better than themselves. They have to defeat Krishna most of the times. That is the way Krishna loves, actually, the way Krishna wants to have devotees who would, reproach him, who would, fight against him, who would defeat him. So that is true friendship. So Krishna also acted like a true friend. He was never offended with the words of Arjuna when he was reproaching. In fact, all the powers that Arjuna had were only because of Krishna, but still they truly acted as friends, right? For the childhood friends of Krishna, Krishna would kill a demon right before their eyes, but after the incident is over, they come back and they play together, eat together, they eat from one another's hand. They'll never consider Krishna as God, never. So that is the nature of the spiritual rasa, transcendental relation between the devotees and Krishna. Right? So yeah. So excuse me exactly as a true friend excuses his true friend, or a father excuses his son. So that was how Krishna spent, and Arjuna and Krishna spent time together. So he was remembering all those favors of Lord. So that is how Lord is. So that is how one can relate to Lord in transcendental relationship. Please read.
The Lord relishes the reproaches of friends, parents, or fiancés more than the Vedic hymns offered to him by great learned scholars and religionists in an official fashion.
Just like a prime minister, even though he's a prime minister, he would be more comfortable with the words spoken by his wife or children at home compared to the words spoken in a cabinet or in an assembly house or parliament. The reason is, the intimacy, relation, love is expressed more naturally in those circumstances. So Lord actually relishes these personal relations far more than the strict, the Vedic hymns, or the prayers offered by devotees in Dasya Rasa, like that. Soham Ripendra Rahita Purushottamena
Soham Rupendra Rahita Purushottamena
Sakhya Priyena Suhrida Hridayena Sunya
Satyapayena Suhrada
Advani Urukrama Parigrahan Angarakshan
Urukrama Parikrama
Gopai Ashadbhirabhaleva Vinijachidosmi Please read.
O Emperor,
Go ahead, Franz.
O Emperor, now I am separated from my friend and dearmost well-wisher, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and therefore my heart appears to be void of everything. In his absence, I have been defeated by a number of infidel cowherd men while I was guarding the bodies of all the wives of Krishna.
So
Purport by
one second, Prabhuji. Yeah.
yes,
So now Arjuna was expressing how he became powerless as soon as Krishna left the world. So in the previous discussions we discussed, Lord, anything that we have in terms of our power is all bestowed by Lord, and it can be taken by Lord anytime, right? Whatever we have, the ultimate purpose is to serve Lord. As long as Lord recognizes that it is useful, it will be kept. Otherwise, it will be taken away. And now Arjuna is directly experiencing, speaking from his own experience, that all the powers I had, now I could defeat Lord Indra, the king of heavens. I could defeat even Lord Shiva, the three one of the three important Gunavataras. But now I am defeated even by simple infidel coward men. So this is an incident where the wives of Krishna were, after Krishna departs, they were being taken into, protection by Arjuna. So while they were being, taken that way, there were some coward men who would attack Arjuna and defeat him and take the wives of Krishna, right? I mean, the reason the Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur explains, the infidel coward man actually is Krishna's manifestation only. It's not like somebody else can touch Lakshmi without, nobody other than a Lord can ever touch Mother Lakshmi. And even if they touch, immediately they will disappear. It's not that they have to be protected by Arjuna and they were taken by infidel coward men. It is actually the Lord himself manifests as these covered men and actually takes charge of his own wives. It's not like Arjuna is required to protect them. Right? They are not at Arjuna's protection. Lord himself takes care of them. Yeah. So this is what we don't need to discuss further. So Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur researches from Vishnu Purana and Brahma Purana, and it is mentioned that these wives are actually denizens of heaven, and they once pleased Ashtavakra Muni, and they were blessed by that Muni to get Lord as their husband. But because they saw this Ashtavakra Muni's form, which was curved in a particular way, so these daughters couldn't check their lawful, and so Muni becomes angry at them, and then they say, "Hey, you will be kidnapped by rogues." So just to keep the curse of the Brahmana, Lord himself manifests as those rogues, or the kidnapping coward men. Yeah, just to keep the words of great Muni, Lord himself kidnapped his wives from the protection of Arjuna. Otherwise, they would have at once vanished from the scene as soon as they were touched by the rocks. Okay, so that was the reasoning given by in Vishnu Puran and Brahma Puran about the same instant. So it is just to keep the word of Ashtokara Muni, this pastime manifest. Tadvai Danusta Ishava Sarot Hayaste.
Hayaste.
Soham Ratindri Patayo Yatatman Anta Anand
Hamratindrupatayo yata manti.
Sarvam Shrena Tadbhuta Ashadisik Ishak Riktam. Mam Hutam Uhakara Rabdham Ivoptam Shyam.
Basman Bhutam Tuhakaratham Yoktam Uchyan.
Tadvai Dhanush. I have the same Dhanush. I have the same, Dhanush. Ta Ishava. Right? I have the same bow and arrows. And I am the same Rathi. Right? He is a Maharathi. I am the same chariot fighter, great chariot fighter. Saratho Hayaste. I am the same of everything. I have the same horses. But still now I am defeated. That's what he's trying to say. Sarvam Kshanena Tadahud Ashad Ishariktam. Sarvam Kshanena means within a second, Kshanena, at a moment's notice, Tadahud, everything was taken from me. Please read.
I have the very same Gandiva bow, the same arrows, the same chariot drawn by the same horses, and I use them as the same Arjuna to whom all the kings offer their due respects. But in the absence of Lord Krishna, all of them at a moment's notice have become null and void. It is exactly like offering clarified butter on ashes, accumulating money with a magic wand, or sowing seeds on a barren land.
So we should understand that everything in the material world can be taken away at any time. Yeah. So that is what is the experience of Arjuna is teaching here. I have the same Gandiva, I have the same arrows, I have the same chariot, same horses. I am the Rati, I am the great fighter. But who defeated all these kings? In the absence of Krishna, all of them at a moment's notice have become null and void. It is exactly like offering clarified butter on ashes. On ashes, if you offer ghee, it is of no use when there is no fire. And accumulating money with a magic wand. Sometimes it comes and magic wand, nothing real manifests from that, right? Or sowing seeds on a barren land. Right? It never comes. So all these things are there, but they are of no use because I have no power to use them. All the powers, along with Krishna, everything was gone. I don't have any more of those powers I used to have when I was in the battlefield of Kurukshetra. Yeah. Please continue.
As we have discussed more than once, one should not be puffed up by borrowed plumes. All energies and powers are derived from the Supreme Source, Lord Krishna, and they act as long as He desires and cease to function as soon as He withdraws. All electrical energies are received from the powerhouse, and as soon as the powerhouse stops supplying energy, the bulbs are of no use. In a moment's time, Such energies can be generated or withdrawn by the supreme will of the Lord. Material civilization without the blessing of the Lord is child's play only. As long as the parents allow the child to play, it is all right. As soon as the parents withdraw, the child has to stop. Human civilization and all activities thereof must be dovetailed with the supreme blessing of the Lord, and without His blessing, all advancement of human civilization is like decoration on a dead body.
So all electrical energies are received from the powerhouse, and as soon as powerhouse stops supplying energy, the bulbs are of no use. In a moment's time, such energies can be generated or withdrawn by the Lord. We see, especially in India, they cut power anytime, right? So, like suddenly in the night, suddenly the power is gone, and all the working fans and lights, everything would just get switched off. And we have no control, literally. So similarly, Lord can give energy, supply energy, and take away also the skills or money or whatever. He can take away, he can give. Everything happens according to Lord's will. It's not according to our will. We may want to have it for longer, but just like the Department of Electricity controls the supply of electrical energy and can take away anytime. So similarly, Lord can take away all the facilities, powers, whatever you call, from us anytime. It is given for only one purpose, that is to use in the service for the pleasure of Lord. Other than that, there is no other purpose to it. Right? As the parents withdraw, the child has to stop. As soon as the parents withdraw, child may play, but as soon as the mother realizes, hey, he has to study and complete his homework, mother may drag the child by ears and make him sit and work on the homework packet. Right? He cannot continue playing. So similarly, the jivas in the middle world, they may want to do many things, but as soon as Lord wants them to stop, they have to stop. As soon as Lord wants to cut their tail, their tail will be cut. Right? So we are at the mercy of Lord in middle world. Only a pure devotee can be free from that. Even in fact, the pure devotee can control Lord. For example, when when Lord Krishna and Balaram, they were children of 3 or 4 years. Sometimes they would play with their younger gopas. They would play for a long time. They wouldn't even come back to home to eat lunch. And sometimes Mother Rohini would go to bring them. And as soon as Mother Rohini calls the boys, Krishna and Balaram, they would look at the mother and they would look at the friends. The friends would say, hey, if you leave us, you will not ever come back to play with us. We'll take you out of the team. Krishna is afraid to lose the friendship. So he'll say, Mother, sorry, you can't come now. And Mother Rohini cannot do further. So she goes back, and Yashodamai now enters the arena. She wouldn't care what the child says. She would pull both Krishna and Balaram by the ears and drag them. And they have nothing to say now. So a pure devotee can even control Lord himself. So that is the relation between your Mother Yashoda and Krishna. Right? She is fully exhibiting the Vatsalya Rasa. She only cares whether Krishna is healthy and happy, he's eating nicely or not. She doesn't care whether he's whether he's crying or so that is possible. So the point is, a devotee can become even bigger than Lord, right? For normal materialists, they are fully under the control of material, 3 modes of material, not even directly by Lord. They are fully under the control of the 3 modes of material nature. They are going to the 3 modes will completely control the actions and reactions of people in material world. So that is the difference, right? Because the jiva, the pure devotees are completely in the shelter of the divine energy of the Lord. Rajam Tvayanu Pristana Rajam
Vayanuprasthanam
Sahridamna Sahritpure
Suhridamna Suhritpure
Viprashapa Vimodhana
Viprasapa Vimodhanam
Nignatam Mushtibhirmita
Nignatam Mustivirmita
Varunim Madiram Pritva
Varunim Madiram
Madon Matita Setasam
Madonmatita Chetasam
Ajanatam Ivanyonyam
Janatam
Anatam Ivanyonyam
Chatuh Panchavaseshita
Chatu Pancha Visheshita.
Yeah. Read.
O King, since you have asked me about our friends and relatives in the city of Dwaraka, I will inform you that all of them were cursed by the Brahmanas, and as a result, they all became intoxicated with wine made of vitrified rice and fought among themselves with sticks, not even recognizing one another. Now, all but 4 or 5 of them are dead and gone.
Now he was informing about the fate of the Yadus in Prabhasa Kshetra. So this is the Mausala Leela fasting of the departure of the Yadus from the face of earth. So he was just informing that all the Yadus, they assembled in Prabhasa Kshetra, and because of the providence, there was a curse for them. Actually, they tried to make fun of some rishis there, and in turn they were cursed, and so they actually fought between. They all drank, and they fought with each other, and most of them were dead and gone, except 3 or 4 or 5. So that is that is what is discussed here. He was just informing about the departure of the Yadus. Any questions so far? So he was just relating all that has happened so far. Prayenetad Bhagavata
Bhagavata
Varasya Vichestitam
Ishvarasya Vicheshtitam
Ito Nignanti Bhutani
Ito Nignanti Bhutani
Bhavayanti Cha Yanmita.
Bhavayanti Chayanmita.
Please read.
Actually, this is all true, all due to the supreme will of the Lord, the personality of Godhead. Sometimes people kill one another, and at other times they protect one another.
Ishwarasya Vichestitam. Even though this fight appears like costly experience, but all of this has happened actually by the supreme will of Lord himself. Ishwarasya Vichestitam. Right? Will of the Supreme Lord. It's nothing surprise, nothing like a surprise. Sometimes people kill one another, sometimes they protect one another. But it is all manifest by the will of the Supreme Lord. Yeah.
According to the anthropologists, there is nature's law of struggle for existence and survival of the fittest. But they do not know that behind the law of nature is a supreme direction of the supreme personality of Godhead. In the Bhagavad Gita, it is confirmed that the law of nature is executed under the direction of the Lord. Whenever, therefore, there is peace in the world, it must be known that it is due to the good will of the Lord. And whenever there is upheaval in the world, it is also due to the supreme will of the Lord.
Nothing happens without the will of the Lord. Not a blade of grass moves without the will of the Lord. So all of this that has happened, so the whole middle world is designed such that, because what is the basic principle in middle world? What is the basic principle of existence in the middle world?
Survival of the fittest.
Yeah. Why? I mean, what is the inclination of the jivas in the middle world? If you take any jiva in the middle world, yeah, what is his inclination?
Have to live.
To live, I mean, to live, of course, to enjoy, right? Everybody wants to enjoy in general, right? I mean, not talking about specifically the mentality of devotee, but they want to dominate when there is a, when there is opportunity. They want to enjoy, they want to dominate. So that is the heart disease of the people of the middle world. That is a root problem, whether you talk about, Elon Musk or anybody, is they want to dominate the world, right? Or any, even the most powerful to the least powerful. Everybody has the same mindset. So the world is designed such that there are higher living entities and lower living entities. Means powerful and low, higher power and lower power. There is a distinction between the powers of the people. And so naturally, the survival of the fittest or the struggle for existence happens in the middle world. The reason is everybody wants to be the boss, or everybody wants to be the dominator, right? So how can that be facilitated? Only when there is, there is a variety of powers that people have, right? Then only one can dominate. The big fish eats the small fish, or the lion eats the deer, or whatever, right? So such natural hierarchy exists within the living entities in the middle world. The rich exploits the poor. So that is how laws of nature are designed to work. People come with that mentality to fulfill their desires. The nature itself, manifests those laws, right? Yeah. Continue.
The surest way to the path of peace, therefore, is dovetailing everything to the established rule of the Lord. The established rule is that whatever we do, whatever we eat, whatever we sacrifice, or whatever we give in charity must be done to the full satisfaction of the Lord.
So this is Bhagavad Gita verse. Yat karoshi yadasnasi yajjaho. So everything that you do, if it is done as a sacrifice for the satisfaction of the Supreme Lord, then there will be peace in the world. Right? The whole world can live as one home. Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. But people, because of their, nature in the middle world, they want to dominate, and they want to, they don't want peace. They want to be the enjoyer. Continue.
Discretion is the better part of valor, and one must learn how to discriminate between actions which may be pleasing to the Lord and those which may not be pleasing to the Lord. An action is thus judged by the Lord's pleasure or displeasure. There is no room for personal whims. We must always be guided by the pleasure of the Lord. Such action is called Yoga Karmashu Kaushalam, or actions performed which are linked with the Supreme Lord. That is the art of doing a thing perfectly.
So how do we perform actions? Generally, whenever we perform an action, whenever we do something, what is the expectation of us? if you do something, do we generally, in general, if somebody does an action, what is the intention behind it?
To get return on
To achieve some result.
Some result, but what is the goal of the result? To become happy with the result, right? So
Yes.
one's own pleasure is the primary goal of any action that one performs, correct? But what is the instruction here? Actually, the action should be done considering the pleasure of the Lord. Any action you perform, you wake up in the morning, you chant in the morning, or you eat prasadam or offer bhoga to Krishna, or you work at your office. If the consideration is your pleasure, that is material. If the consideration is Lord's pleasure, that is Krishna conscious. Arjuna, why was he not interested in fighting? That's an action, right? What was his initial consideration? What was he thinking?
He should not kill his relatives.
Yeah, but so that would cause what? His own displeasure.
Displeasure.
Yeah, his own displeasure was the reason that he is not willing to act in the first time, in the first, second chapters.
So he'll say, right, what will I gain by doing this?
What will I get? That is one of the reasons. The 5 reasons he gives. He thinks very logically. Hey, if I win this kingdom, only 5 of us exist and rest of the world is destroyed, including all my brothers. For whom am I actually really doing this fight if I don't have anybody to enjoy with? Right? The family that, I kill my uncle, aunt, grandfather, grandmother, my teacher, and what will be there to enjoy for me? Very logical, right? So Krishna gave a higher, he took the consciousness of Arjuna to a next level. Hey, it's not about you and me, it's about dharma. You have to protect dharma. Right? So when Arjuna understood the goal of Krishna, Pavitranaya sadhunam vinashaya cha dushkritam dharma samsthapanadhaya sambhavami yuge. You understood the goal of Krishna, position of Krishna, and he surrenders to Krishna, and he says, whatever you will, that is my will. Right? So then he surrenders to the instruction of Krishna. So then he acts for the pleasure of Krishna. So that is the transformation of Bhagavad Gita. That is the transformation that Bhagavad Gita should bring in our own lives. Right? Tachrunu, whatever you say, whatever is your instruction, I am going to follow. Because that is the ultimate benefit. That is for my ultimate benefit. Right? Just like a child may want to play, that is what is pleasurable for him. But mother or father would scold him and make him sit, and child may be initially crying, but actually ultimately he realizes that is in my best interest. Right? Similarly, here Arjuna also did the same. Right? He ultimately surrendered himself for the pleasure of Krishna. So whatever we do in our own life, that should be the consideration. If I do this, ultimately, is that going to please Lord? Is that going to please devotees? Or am I doing out of my own whims? Is this action has the blessing of the Lord? Is this action has the blessing and support of devotees? That should be considered. That should be one of the important consideration in our actions. Not everything, but at least significant, important things that you do, we should consider the pleasure of devotees and the pleasure of the Lord. This is a practical lesson for us. Jalaukasam jale yadvan
Lalokasam jale yadvan
hanto danti aniyasha
Mahanto dante aniyasaha
durbalan balino rajan
Durbalan balino rajan
hanto balino mita
महान्तो बलिनो मितः
एवं बलिष्टैर्यदुभिर्
एवं बलिष्ठैर्यदुभिर्
महद्भिर्पितरान् विभो
ऋतरान् विभुः
यदुभिरनोन्योन्यम्
यदुभिरन्योन्यम्
भूभरान् सञ्जहराहरा
भूभारान् सञ्जहारः
Please read.
O king, as in the ocean, the bigger and the stronger aquatic swallow up the smaller and weaker ones, so also the Supreme Personality of Godhead, to lighten the burden of the earth, has engaged the stronger Yadu to kill the weaker, and the bigger Yadu to kill the smaller.
So just like, in aquatics, the bigger fish eats the smaller one. So significant word is to lighten up the burden on earth. This is interesting. How come Yadus, the devotees of the Lord, become the burden to the earth? The demons are burden, and they were eliminated by Lord himself as part of Kurukshetra war. So Prabhupada explains in the purport that there is burden of love. For example, the child may weigh 10 kilos, but is the mother not willing to carry him? It is also a burden, right? So, but it is a pleasurable burden. It's not like painful burden, right? So in this way, Yadus are very powerful people. The family of Krishna, almost 10,000 people, just the family of Krishna himself. So there are more than 10,000 people. They are very powerful, very strong. And imagine Krishna left, these powerful Yadus, what do? Without Krishna, they don't even want to live any longer. So it is just an arrangement of the Lord, right? They don't want to, pure devotees of Lord. And they have, by the way, they all came to play a part in the Leela of the Lord. They are not here because, all of us take birth because of our, karma, but they are not like that. Most of them came either as a trainee before going back to, Goloka, or they are eternal associates of the Lord. They are not the part of material existence, so as to say. So they are meant to be going back, and it's just a pastime that was manifest so that they get to leave the world. And who can kill them? And nobody can kill. So they have to kill them, within themselves. So it's an arrangement of the Lord so that so some of them are actually demigods, right? So the demigods, they have to go back to their duties. It's not like they can be, and before they actually get liberated. So they are still in the middle world. They have perfected their life.
That's it. And one red color thing will be there. Put your hand there and pull it.
I don't know what color.
So so where are we? Yeah. So Yadus, right? So Yadus, some of these Yadus were actually demigods who were, in their last stages before they go back to, Goloka. So they were on a trainee purpose right now in the middle world when Lord was performing pastimes. And they still have to complete their duties as demigods. They were on a, it's like a holiday break or a training break, right? So they almost lived. The whole pastime of Lord Krishna was for about 125 years. That's how long Lord manifests his pastimes. And these Yadus were also on a, along with the Lord, out of their duties from, heavenly planets or even higher planets are from the eternal associates from Vaikunthas or Goloka. They were on a temporary break. So 120 years is almost like, so in earthly years, 120 years is, so one day of heavenly planet is 6 months, right? Here, Uttarayana, Dakshinayana, right? 6 months and 6 months. So it's almost 120 days, or like a 4-month break for the demigods from their heavenly planets. It's like a long summer break to go get trained before they go back to spiritual world. So that is how it is for the others from heavenly time horizon. And so they are here temporarily to participate in the pastime of Lord when He is there on the Earth planet before they go back to to their distant duties, and then further after that go back to it's like internship for 4 months before they actually join the job, like after a year. They have to first go back to their college and finish their final duties, right? So that's exactly how you can imagine the whole thing. So from Krishna's perspective, this killing is just transferring from one planet to the other planet. It's, for us it might appear like, oh, this is how Yadus are killing each other. It's something odd. They're also acting like killing, death, all of these are fearful. But from Lord's perspective, it's just transfer from one plane to other planet, right?
Prabhu, one question. What about Gandhari's curse?
Yeah, Gandhari's curse was there. That is also the reason for this way of manifestation. But when Gandhari cursed Lord Krishna after the death of all Kaurava children, Krishna smiled. He knows actually this is what is going to happen anyway. This is his plan, and the Gandhari's curse exactly aligned with the plan. And because Lord as Paramatma inspires jivas, right, to speak what they have to speak. That in a way kind of relieved the pain of Gandhari, that her sons were demolished, and she considers Krishna as the prime cause for that. And so she curses, you and your family would be destroyed in a civilian fight within the family members, right? So that's what she curses. And this curse manifests when? It's not immediately after Kurukshetra war or immediately after Gandhari leaves. It almost manifests 36 years after Kurukshetra war. So it is according to Krishna's plan. So there is nothing surprise for Krishna.
Prabhuji, why in those days there were so many curses, and why it would come true?
Oh, curses can come true even now if you.
Because the Gandhari sons did bad thing, so that's why they did. So why it came true? Like,
oh, it is because she's considered, she lived a very pure life, completely dedicated to her husband. So she has that potency, and yeah, so it is according to the plan of Lord. This curse is not any negative at all in this case, because it is the plan of Lord to take the Yadus back to their original place, right? After Lord leaves, what purpose does it serve for the Yadus to stay back? They all came for a purpose, to be with the Lord during his pastimes in the world. So it doesn't serve any purpose. So it is better for them to leave as soon as possible, and it's a perfect coincidence for them. And
why fight with one another, Prabhuji? They would have simply disappeared or merged with the Lord.
And that is to bewilder the materialistic people. The materialistic people, when they read this, they're like, how come Lord's own family members fight with each other? The Lord is not true. He's like one of us. So there will be enough reasoning for materialistic people to convince that Krishna is not God. So these are the kind of reasons. That is true, Prabhu. I'm not kidding. Actually, that is the reason. Everywhere enough reasoning exists for materialistic people to consider Lord doesn't exist. All these are, all this is all made up stories. So there is always that part of it. Anyway,
There are other reasons also.
What is that? Go ahead.
Prabhuji, but isn't it like part of what Gandhari's curse was for them to fight with each other, and it's like part of the curse, and also like, isn't it the curse also as per Krishna's plan when his whatever he came for is done, he has to go back. So this was just an incident.
Yeah, it is part of the curse. It is part of the curse, but it is also according to the plan of Lord that they leave after he leaves the world. Right? In fact, we'll hear after this. After hearing this, what Yudhishthira says, okay, it is time for me to leave now. That is what he considers. Because they all are, born with a purpose. And they know. So it's like sun, right? Sun sometimes manifests in one part of the country, and again it goes to another part of the country. It always exists. Similarly, the devotees also transfer, from one place to other place according to the service needs, right? So it's just a way for them to leave the world. It has nothing to do with how it manifests, right? So we cannot consider devotees passing away from material point of view at all. There are, sometimes even, devotees of the Lord were taken suddenly in an accident. But it is very well understood they fully were Krishna conscious at the time. The way Ayendra Prabhu passed away, or the way Tamal Krishna Maharaj passed away from this world, right? Or the way Bhakticharu Maharaj passed away from this world. It's all sudden. We don't know what is the plan of the Lord, or Srila Prabhupada or their guru for them in the next place. They might need them for their service there. So the devotees passing away cannot be considered from material eye at all. So these are all intimate associates of the Lord. So it cannot happen because of the curse of Gandhari. Gandhari had a curse, but it's not the primary reason. It is the primary reason is actually it is the plan of the Lord to take them with them, right, for their next service. So it manifests in this, in the words as spoken by Gandhari, but that is in line with Krishna's plan. So it happened. How come a pure devotee can curse the devotees? One can say that. It doesn't matter. I mean, as long as it is aligned with the plan of the Lord, it can happen. Right? It's completely in line with the plan of the Lord. Yeah. Go ahead.
In the material world, the struggle for existing and survival of the fittest are lost, because in the material world there is a disparity between conditioned souls due to everyone's desire to lord it over the material resources. This very mentality of lording it over the material nature is the root cause of conditioned life. And to give facility to such imitation lords, the illusory energy of the Lord has created a disparity between the conditioned living beings by creating the stronger and the weaker in every species of life.
Yeah, we discussed this already. So because everybody wants to dominate, and so Lord creates this kind of disparity between living entities so that they can all fight each other and prove themselves who is better than the other. Right? So yeah.
In the spiritual world, there is no such a disparity, nor is there such a struggle for existence. In the spiritual world, there is no struggle for existence because everyone there exists eternally. There is no disparity because everyone wants to render service to the Supreme Lord. and no one wants to imitate the Lord in becoming the beneficial.
So in the spiritual world, everybody wants to serve Lord and make Lord the happy, right? So this disparity and the struggle for existence mainly exists in the material world. But it has nothing to do with, this particular translation here. So the translation is just showing, the plan of the Lord. That's it. It's not. It has nothing to do with, this. They are not. They are all pure devotees, and their fighting with each other is, is a plan manifest. It's a plan of the Lord.
Prabhuji, sorry, one last question. What was the fight all about? Why did they fight?
Oh, they're just drunk. They're drunk and they fought with you. And they just were fully drunk, unconscious, and they just killed each other.
Oh, okay.
Thank you. It's just like, we may ask how Parikshit Maharaj, who was a great religious person and great king who was looking after the welfare of everybody, how he got the idea of putting the snake around the sage's head, sage's neck.
And he was also cursed, right, Prabhuji?
He's also cursed. And it was exactly the plan of the Lord. When he considers that situation, Parikshit Maharaj immediately accepts the curse because he knew it is the plan of the Lord. Sometimes devotees surrender to the plan of the Lord. How come? There's so many such instances. How come Arjuna got bewildered? Suddenly, he was such a fully prepared man. He was waiting for the war. He was prepared for all his life to be a great, arch fighter. And suddenly, as the fight is about to start, he gets confused. How Yudhishthira Maharaj, after all the battle is over, after the kingdom is handed off to him, is completely gets confused. Right?
Yeah.
So we see this repeated again and again. And Lord makes the devotee as the instrument to send a message. How Bhishma would, the whole world considers Bhishma, how come this guy, he fights on side of Kurus? He was there to teach a lesson. For teaching one lesson to the world, this person would not consider his own name and fame. Imagine the surrender of the devotees. You see?
So, Prabhuji, you mentioned that Lord can take away at any moment, any time, right? Anything, right?
Yes.
So, will he ever take away devotional service from a devotee?
No, it will never happen. Yeah. So, he will only take away. Again, the taking away is primarily to teach a lesson, to make him closer to Krishna. He will never, because what is his ultimate goal?
He wants us back to him, come back to him. Yeah.
So he will again and again remind you to get back to his devotion service, but will never take away. Unless sometimes, as a punishment, a devotee is taken away from a congregation. That is because
like that, yeah.
It is because for him staying longer there, he might commit more offenses and his devotion service may further degrade. To protect his devotion service, sometimes a particular devotee is, taken away from the congregation. That is possible. Right? Congregation or a group, right? So that is to protect in every incident, in every such pastime, the consideration is the protection or preservation of whatever the devotee has in terms of his devotion service.
So, Prabhuji, another question. So, you also, Mataji asked about curses. So, I don't know if I had and you said curses will work even now, right? So, Parikshit Maharaj's example and Yadu's example will tell us that even the devotees get affected by the curse if the Lord is willing them to get affected. Is that what it is? How we understand?
Yeah. It's only Lord's will, ultimately. Our Lord's will prevail over everything else. And somebody just speaks, harsh words, that won't manifest because they should have the potency. Gandhari is a pure woman. She even actually, we can learn a great lesson from that, whole incident. That she She even stopped Duryodhana. If you read Mahabharata, I was reading the other day. She, she tries to stop the fight at any cost. But Duryodhana wouldn't listen. He wouldn't listen to his father, his mother, his teachers, his grandfather. Everybody advises. But so
But Prabhu, why would only some people curse and some people, even if they affect, they are not, like Kunti did not curse them. So because they acted very badly.
Kunti did not, because she is a surrendered devotee, and she thinks everything was manifest, and that is bringing her closer to Krishna, right? Vipada Santa Saswat Yatra Yatra Jagat Guru. So she says, I want more vipad, which means more and more troubles in my own life, so that I get the chance to remember you and get closer to you, Krishna. Right? In the 8th chapter, we studied that. Right? So that is, so the devotee is, a pure devotee is above all of this. He thinks that everything is happening perfectly according to Krishna's plan. Perfectly. Krishna, this is what I need. This is what I deserve. This is what is best for me. Prahlad Maharaj, did he curse back his father? He could have. With one curse, he could have sent back, his father to Yamlok. He didn't do that. He just accepted, Lord is the protector. What can my father do? Right? Then he asked, hey, Prahlad, how are you standing so firmly? Not even demigods stand before me. They run away from my presence. Prahlad says, who gave you that power? He gets afraid, actually, looking at how this boy is standing before me. He says, Prahlad says, the power that I have is the same power that you have, and both of us got this power from the same source, from Lord Narayana, Krishna. Right? So then that irritates Hiranyakasipu even further, right? He again attacks now. So devotee never ever curses back. So many pastimes, right? Ambarish Maharaj, did he curse back Durvasa Muni? When Durvasa Muni manifests this demon that tries to attack Ambarisha, he wouldn't curse. He would just stand, and Lord will take care of him. That is, the Lord would not allow any bad thing to happen to his devotee, right? When even during the fight, Bhishma was about to overpower Arjuna. What happened then? Immediately, Lord himself jumps out to protect Lord. And he promised, he's ready to break his own promise, right? And go take the wheel of the chariot and run behind Bhishma. He's ready to void his own promise to be not part of the war on any side. So that is the nature of the Lord. He is willing to go beyond to protect his devotees, right? And he would not, if somebody insults him, it's okay, but if somebody insults a devotee of Lord, he will not tolerate. Time and again we see this. And the devotee, he is never considerate about. So when Mother Parvati curses Chitraketu, do you think Chitraketu, the pure devotee, cannot curse back Mother Parvati? He just smiled at Lord Shiva. And he was not even intent to be sarcastic at the time. It was little bit, it appeared like sarcastic to Mother Parvati. And she immediately cursed him to become Vritrasura, the demon. Lord protects the devotion in the heart of Chitraketu, even when in the form of Vritrasura. He was a great devotee. Even in Asura body, he was a great devotee. And he did not retaliate. He just accepted, just like Parikshit did. So we see the same nature in all the devotees. It's not just Ambarisha, Chitraketu, Kunti, Parikshit, Arjuna. Yudhishthira. Imagine, like, so that is what devotion to Lord brings in one's life. They accept everything as the blessing of the Lord, and they see completely everything that happens in their life in full harmony with Krishna's plan. They do not see why this happened to me. They think everything that is manifest in my life is perfectly, that is what I need to me, for me to get closer to Krishna. And everything, they take it as an opportunity to remember Krishna, to, so that is how they see. Making sense? I don't know if I answered the question.
Yeah, Prabhuji. One more question. So if somebody curse, then I heard that their power will go. Is that true? If whatever they have done good, they'll be losing that power.
Yeah, I heard that. Yeah, I don't have any evidence for it in scripture, but yeah, it will affect them because they cannot use whatever they have on others like that without consideration if they do it. Desha kalarda yuktani
Desha-kala-yuktani
tapo pasamani cha
Krittapopashamani cha
harante smarataschitam
Harante smarataschittam
govindabhihitani me.
Govindabhihitani me.
Now I am attracted to those instructions imparted to me by the personality of Godhead Govinda, because they are impregnated with instructions for relieving the burning heart in all circumstances of time and space.
Now he is remembering what? Bhagavad Gita. That Lord spoke to him while in the battlefield of Kurukshetra. Govindabhi hitani me. So Govinda, whatever he narrated to me, now I am remembering. So whenever we are in anxiety, it's not the material world is going to give anxiety. It's if we lose a loved one, if we lose some job or whatever, there is going to be misery immediately. We are still human beings and we still have emotions. We go through the pain in the beginning, but we can recuperate. Some people can never recuperate their losses from their losses. For example, they live in that memory forever in those losses for years. I've heard about some people who still remember their loss of the children or parent for years. But here, a devotee can remember the instructions and get the relief because they're never really separated from Govinda, from Krishna, right? Through instructions, they're again back in the connection of the connection of the devotees, right? In the connection of the Lord. So so for example, I was hearing that Giriraj Maharaj, his Holiness Giriraj Maharaj, he's in GEV the last 1 week and next one more week. So he would, every day he would do Bhagavatam class in GEV near Rupa Goswami Samadhi. So at that place, he would read purport of Prabhupada, couple of lines, and he would go for a long time, remembering, sharing the wisdom and pastimes of, Srila Prabhupada. So in that way, even though the Guru passed away, how many years now? It's almost 50 years, 40 years. Srila Prabhupada left the world about 40 years. And they stayed with them for about 10 years, 10, 11 years. But they still try to remember, and they never miss Prabhupada. Even Prabhupada, he spent very little time personally with his Gurudev. But once he told his disciples that he never am I alone. I always have my Guru with me. Always. My spiritual master is with me. So that is the nature of a devotee. He remembers his Guru, he remembers the Lord, always being with them. Right? So now for Arjuna, his Guru is actually Krishna himself. So he immediately remembered the instructions of his Guru or teacher, and they are helping him become relieved from relieving the burning hurt with all this great calamity and losses of all these family members, Yadus, and his own lovable friend and teacher, Lord Krishna. So through his instructions, he is able to relieve himself from the pain and suffering. Yeah, so we'll not read this. Can you read this?
The problem which arose in the heart of Arjuna on the battlefield of Kurukshetra was solved by the teachings of Bhagavad Gita. Again, after the departure of the Lord from the vision of earthly people, when Arjuna was face to face with being vanquished in his acquired power and prominence, he wanted again to remember the great teachings of the Bhagavad Gita, just to teach all concerned that the Bhagavad Gita can be consulted in all critical times, not only for solace from all kinds of mental agonies, but also for the way out of great entanglements which may embrace one in some critical hour.
So material world means we'll go through a lot of mental and physical agonies. Some people, we all go through embarrassments. So we have to take shelter of the instructions of Lord in Bhagavad Gita. So that will give us relief from the pains of material world. Now please read. Thus the Bhagavad Gita.
Thus the Bhagavad Gita, or any authentic scriptural sound representation of the Lord, is also the incarnation of the Lord. There is no difference between the sound representation of the Lord and the Lord himself. One can derive the same benefit from the Bhagavad Gita as Arjuna did in the personal presence of the Lord.
Because the instructions are available for us, and because they are spiritually potent, whether Lord is physically present or not, the effect is the same. If you read Bhagavad Gita, you have Lord with you in your life. So one can derive the same benefit from Bhagavad Gita as Arjuna did in the personal presence of Lord. So Prabhupada explains about Bhagavad Gita further. The 5 principles of Bhagavad Gita, the 5 teachings of Bhagavad Gita. All of that you can read. Yeah. Suta Uvacha. Evam Chintayato Jishno. Krishnapada Saroruham.
Krishnapada
Saroruham.
Sauhardena Tigadena.
Sauhardena Tigadena.
Santashit Vimalamati.
Santashit Vimalamati.
Please read.
Suta Goswami said, thus being deeply absorbed in thinking of the instructions of the Lord, which were imparted in the great intimacy of friendship, and in thinking of his lotus feet, Arjuna's mind became pacified and free from all material contamination.
So now Arjuna started meditating on the instructions of the Lord. So this is how a devotee is protected. The difficulties and challenges come in everybody's life, but for the devotee, when the challenges come, he takes shelter of Krishna and his instructions, and thus he will be relieved from the material contamination or material anxieties. A non-devotee, whereas he will take shelter in what? He will take shelter in wine. He will go to movie theater, try to relieve his pain and anxiety. He will try to, curse them back, or he will do whatever is, that he gets to do, right? So that is the difference between how a devotee acts versus a non-devotee. You can see how from the action of Arjuna here. So we should also, whenever we are challenged, we are in difficult times, things are completely out of control, and we are on the receiving end. It all happens to everybody. It happens to everyone. We accept it and see objectively and learn the lesson so that we may not repeat, and also take shelter of Krishna to give us the intelligence and the shelter so that we can be protected in that situation. Right? So, yeah, please read, continue.
Arjuna began to think of the Lord's instructions to him on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. Only those instructions began to eliminate the tinges of material contamination in the mind of Arjuna. The Lord is like the sun. The sun's appearance means immediate dissipation of darkness or ignorance, and the Lord's appearance within the mind of the devotee can at once drive away the miserable material effect.
So that's why the easiest way to keep Lord in your mind is chant Hare Krishna. Whenever you feel anxiety, you can try it practically. Whenever you are in anxiety, tension, or in some fight with somebody, immediately chant Hare Krishna. Your mind will be immediately, because the light of sun, the sun of Krishna, immediately brightens your mind, and you get the intelligence to deal with the situation immediately. You can immediately see that effect. You can try it for yourself. It's like immediate medicine that affects you.
The feeling of separation from the Lord is undoubtedly painful to the devotee, but because it is in connection with the Lord, it has a specific transcendental effect which pacifies the heart. Feelings of separation are also sources of transcendental bliss, and they are never comparable to contaminated material feelings of separation.
Sometimes the devotee feels separation from the Lord, right? Yogaitam nimishena chakshusha prabhasayate. Sunyaitam jagat sarvam govinda virahename. Lord Chaitanya says in Sikshastakam. Right? Being in separation from you, every moment appears like a yuga, right? 12 years or more. So a devotee, when he feels separation from the Lord, it's also a source of transcendental pleasure. That is how, when the gopis were feeling separation from the Lord, and that actually brings the memories of the Lord, and they actually feel transcendently blissful in that situation, remembering Lord in separation. Right? So that is also a rasa, actually. It's called Parakiya rasa. Swakiya and Parakiya. Parakiya means in separation. It's not material separation. Vasudevangri anudhyaya dhyana.
Vasudevagri Anutyana
Paribrimhita ramhasa.
Paribrimhita Ramhasa
Nirmati
Bhaktyan
Kashaya Arjuna.
Arjuna.
Please read.
Translation. Arjuna's constant remembrance of the lotus feet of Lord Sri Krishna rapidly increased his devotion, and as a result, all the trash in his thoughts subsided.
So immediately, we can, Arjuna's constant remembrance of the Lord. How can we do the same? We can chant Hare Krishna, the easiest way, right? Or remember the ways in which Lord protected. I was just speaking about them. How Lord protected his devotee, like how Narasimhadev protected Prahlad. Remembrance of Lord, immediately takes away all negative thoughts from the mind. So negative thoughts are called trash in this. Results of all trash in his thoughts subsided. So Arjuna immediately, as soon as he remembered the instructions of Krishna, he immediately came out of the moroseness of the separation and loss of power, whatnot. He lost everything, but as soon as he remembered, he forgot everything. All the pain was subsided. Yeah, please read.
Material desires in the mind are the trash of material contamination. By such contamination, the living being is faced with so many compatible and incompatible things that discourage the very existence of spiritual identity.
Yeah, continue, Prabhu. Little further.
Birth after birth, the conditioned soul is entrapped with so many pleasing and displeasing elements, which are all false and temporary. They accumulate due to our reactions to material desires. But when we get in touch with the transcendental Lord in his variegated energies by devotion service, the naked forms of all material desires become manifest.
So the devotion service acts like a forest fire. You have so many things that are in your mind about ways to enjoy in the material world, and all those will be burned from their roots. Just like a forest fire can burn the trees from the roots, so all the desires in various forms, kota, bija, some are manifest, unmanifest, some are in sanchit karma, yet to manifest in some future. The desires that are there in you, not now manifest, but will manifest in a future life. They are also there. So all these various forms of desires of the jiva, they're all burnt at the roots. The remembrance of Lord can do that.
As soon as Arjuna turned his attention towards the instructions of the Lord, as they are inculcated in the Bhagavad Gita, his true color of eternal association with the true became manifest. And thus, he felt free from all material contaminations.
The simple solution is to always remember Lord. So let's read this one. Let's stop. Geetam Bhagavata Jnatvam Jnanam.
Geetam Bhagavata Jnanam.
Yattat Sangrama Murdhani.
Yattat Sangrama Murdhani.
Kala Karma Tamo Ruddham.
Kala Karma Tamo Ruddham.
Punar Adhyagamat Prabhu.
Punar Adhyagamat Prabhu.
Because of the Lord's, okay, let me read. Because of the Lord's pastimes and activities, and because of his absence, it appeared that Arjuna forgot the instructions left by the personality of Godhead. But factually, this was not the case. And again, he became Lord of his senses. So in the beginning, we saw how Arjuna was morose when he approached home, and he was taught, initially very could not even speak a word because he was in emotional trauma at the time. Right? As soon as he saw Yudhishthira Maharaj, he could not console himself. But as soon as, first he remembered how Lord protected them from various incidents, right? How Bhima was protected, how Bhima was, killed Jarasandha, all those things, how Arjuna defeated Indra and Lord Shiva. So the various things that Lord Krishna has benefited them. And then how Lord Krishna helped them win the war. Then he expressed how he became powerless. So how all the powers he had were only because of the mercy of Lord. And then he tried to remember how he acted as a friend to him, how he was, sometimes sarcastic to him, he tolerated. And then he spoke how now he's able to remember his instructions, and he's getting to his senses. We know that. Okay, so we'll end here. Any questions? Okay, so just stop recording.